started if you're ready to go.
I am. Well, welcome everybody. It's so nice to have you joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in person this fall. We put this together to kind of give you an idea about our plans for the upcoming school year. And I just wanted to welcome you all. Thank you so much for your kind support and continued support through the last crazy months. I just can't emphasize enough how all of the teachers that we talk to, and certainly all of the community members, the importance of junior achievement is, the curriculum's great, the mission's important, and certainly now through COVID, we've seen that what we're bringing to young people is important now more than ever. But it's the magic of the volunteer, the power of your example that really makes junior achievement sparkle. So I just want to thank you all so much. And when I looked at the RSVP list, it was so much fun to see so many people that we've known for very many years doing so many fabulous things for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Jill and Aaron, and they're going to share with you all kinds of things that we have planned. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Robin. And I want to echo Robin's thanks for being with us here this morning. My name is Jill Hernachek. I'm the Senior Education Engagement Officer here at JA Rocky Mountain. I want to quickly just show you the agenda of what we plan to cover in the next 20 minutes or so, leaving plenty of time for your questions and any comments that you may have for us. So I want to introduce you to the rest of the programs team. Then we'll do a quick recap of what happened this past school year to give you some highlights of everything that junior achievement was still able to achieve during a crazy year. Then we will talk about our expectations for this coming school year and what that we expect that to look like as far as volunteer opportunities for all of you. We'll also be sure to leave some time for questions as well. A couple housekeeping things I wanted to note. In Zoom, there are a couple features that we encourage you to use. There is a Q&A that is available to you. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to type it in the Q&A. We're going to go through that at the end of the presentations and try and answer as many questions as we can. If we don't get to all of them, we'll be sure to follow up with you. So look for the Q&A for any questions that you have. There is also a chat feature. So if you're having any technical difficulties, or if you have comments that you think are important for JA staff to know, please feel free to type it in there. Only JA staff will be able to see any comments that you write in the chat function. All right, so with that, let's get started. So my name is Jill. Erin Sweet is the other member of our volunteer team. She's a manager of volunteer engagement. So she will be hosting this webinar along with me. If you do volunteer with us this school year, you're likely to see one of us. So we really look forward to working with you. I also wanted to introduce the rest of the programs team because you may also be working with some of these individuals this school year as well, or you may have in the past as well. There are probably some familiar faces on here for you. So Sun Como is one of our education managers. Stephanie Murphy is the Director of Education and JA Finance Park. DC Quiros is a Senior Education Manager, and Danielle Gentry works up at JA Finance Park. So if you go volunteer at Finance Park, you will see Danielle. All right, so before we dive into what we expect for this coming school year, we want to take a moment to look back at last year and everything that we were able to achieve and the valuable resources that JA was able to provide during a very challenging year for both educators and students. So for our classroom programs, even though we couldn't send our amazing volunteers into the classroom this year, we still offered our classroom programs across grade levels. So in grades K through 12, it was still available to teachers and their students. We used a combination of recorded volunteer videos and teacher-led content in order to reimagine our programs and make them work either in an in-person, socially distanced environment or through remote classrooms. So we had a lot of flexible options to work for educators, no matter what their classroom looks like. We're also proud to say that we were able to offer Spanish language volunteer videos for students in grades K through 2. And I know that was really appreciated by educators. So we got a lot of really fantastic feedback from teachers who just thought that, you know, during the COVID year, we probably can't do JA. It was still available to them. I know their students loved all of the hands-on activities. It was a nice change in a funky year. So, but as Robin said, teachers are excited to get back in person and bring volunteers back into their class this school year. Another program that we were able to offer virtually is called JA Career Speaker Series. So there was significant demand from our educators at the middle and high school level to really provide their students with career exploration opportunities, since they had a lot of challenges providing those to students themselves this year, since they couldn't really get out into the classroom and get into workplaces. So we were able to meet that demand by creating a library of these career speaker series videos. We had volunteers from all different industries record videos talking about their educational experience, their personal journey to get into their job, to get into the company that they work for. And so students could go into this library and choose which jobs they are most interested in. So they were able to personalize the experience based off of their own interests and future aspirations. We ended up with a library of over 60 career speaker series videos, which we're so excited about. So thanks to anyone on the call who helped us with this video library. And we had a lot of really great feedback from educators on this program.
Okay, and I'm going to take over. So good morning. I'm Erin, as Jill said, and you might recognize me if you've ever been to our JA Finance Park facility. That's where I was the last 3 years, well, 2 in person, and then the last year I, with Danielle, helped run the virtual Finance Park. So we were lucky enough that our national organization was able to roll out a new virtual simulation. They were already working on it pre-COVID. So it was ready to go in the fall, and students were able to use it in the remote setting, which was great. So students were still able to access it. Teachers were still able to teach lessons, whether they were in class or at home. And we got a lot of great feedback. The program is video game-esque, so students really enjoyed that part of it. And they were still able to get such important content. So we actually had over 85 teachers participate, and that totaled about 55 schools. So we still had a really great reach last year. Finance Park. And so that kind of wraps up that's a very fast wrap up to what we did last year. And it seemed fast and then slow at the same time, as I'm sure that many of you can relate to. So, but this slide is a really cool one that we wanted to share. With everything that's happened, we were still able to reach 60,000 students last year, and just impactful programming, a lot of really great feedback, both using our volunteers virtually and just, you know, trying new things. So you can see that we reimagined 21 programs. So just got creative, did what we could, got it out there. And one of our staff members especially, she became a pro in video editing, and she just taught herself new talents so that she could get those videos out to students. So that was really cool to see. And then we were just excited to have this Spanish version available for students, and maybe something we'll expand in the future, but just a really great resource for teachers. Okay, so this one's exciting too. These were something that we shared with our board as well, but our net promoter score for educators was 83 over the past year. And if you're not familiar with that scoring, it's kind of a customer service score that's developed, and it's like, how would you rate and would you recommend this to a friend? And so I'm sure you've had to answer those questions before, but Anything above 50 is considered outstanding, and 83 is exceptional customer service. So we felt really good about what we were able to deliver to educators, both thanks to our virtual volunteers and just everybody needing something new, and having this new option was just a really amazing part of the year. So, okay, so that was our past year in a nutshell. And if you need more details, you can always ask us at another time, but that was definitely a fast review of our year. And that's going to feed into what we're doing this upcoming year. So let's talk about that. All right, so our preliminary plans. We are hoping to be back in schools when and where we can. So teachers liked the digital option, but there's a lot of excitement to get volunteers back into classrooms or to get students to our facilities. So we're hoping for in-person programming at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school. We are expecting most districts and schools to allow visitors in school and allow field trips, but we haven't received any official word on any of that yet. So we're still really keeping an eye on policies. Admins are getting back into buildings now, so we're watching for those things. And then we'll be following not only those, but their COVID policies. So as we start to hear more, we'll let people know. You probably saw, just the same way that counties deal with everything different, districts do as well. So we'll be watching for those different policies to come out. But at the elementary level, we're hoping for JA and a day opportunities. With our staffing constraints, there won't be the same level as in past years. And we're expecting a slower start in the fall. So maybe before, when we were thinking September, now it's going to be more like November, just because schools are still trying to get their footing as well. So a little bit slower start. If you haven't ever done a JA in a day, just a quick summary, those you spend the day in the classroom. We bring it in for the school. They kind of, instead of regular programming that day, they do our junior achievement curriculum with volunteers in the classroom. And so that's our normal JA in a day system. And so we're hoping for that to come back. And then for middle school, high school, we might be expecting a little bit more of a traditional setting where volunteers are able to go in for maybe an hour once a week over multiple weeks to deliver the curriculum that way. So that's what we're hoping for. And we're also still planning to have virtual programming options and limited availability for our volunteers. So we do recognize that some teachers are still going to need that option, or there's areas that we're just not able to reach normally. And so we'll be able to do that with our virtual programs. Okay, and this leads to our experiential learning, and we are excited. JA Finance Park will be opening up, and we are actually expecting some summer groups, just a few small ones. If you've never been to our Finance Park facility, that's located inside the American Furniture Warehouse that's located in Thornton. And so students actually come to us for that experience. And so they have a field trip day, and they arrive, and volunteers spend the day with the students in our facility, and they walk them through this budgeting scenario, and they get to learn from community volunteers about real life things that have happened financially and real life, anecdotes about budgeting. It's a really fun day. And so that's an option that we are going to have. Like I mentioned, we have 2 groups coming in August, just small groups, kind of get things started again. And then we're hoping to get moving later in the fall. And we have already 8,000 students booked for Finance Park just from interest from last year. And we're expecting more as we reach out to schools as they get back into their school buildings this year. So a lot of demand for Finance Park, and so some great volunteer opportunities there. And then we're also planning to hold our stock market challenge in person again this year. So if you've ever been to that, or if you haven't, great experience. We offered over 2 days at the DU Cable Center, and students arrive, same thing, field trip, and they can come either in the morning or the afternoon, and they spend the day there running through the simulation that creates the stock market challenge, essentially the trading floor. So it's really high energy. If you're a volunteer at that, you get to be a stock trader for the day. So if you've always wanted to wear the jacket and run the stock tips, that's what you're going to be doing that day. And we do have that set up for November 4th and November 5th. So those dates are already in the books. And even if we have to like limit capacity depending on COVID protocols, we're planning to move forward with that event. So exciting things to volunteer at.
All right, thanks, Erin. So with all that being said and what our expectations are for this year, we know that this school year is going to be a juggling act for junior achievement as an organization. So the impact of COVID means that revenue is uncertain this year. We're operating with a leaner staff than we have in previous years. So it's important for us to come up with creative solutions so that we can still deliver programming as efficiently as possible to as many students and educators as we can. But we do ask for your patience this year as we navigate some continued uncertainty of what exactly the school environment will look like. As Erin mentioned, we're really expecting to get back in person, but not all districts have publicized their official policies on visitors. So it may be different by districts, whether volunteers are asked to wear masks or not. So we are keeping an eye on that to see what it looks like. And we are just expecting a little bit of a slower start to the year in fall as everybody gets back to a post-COVID sense of normalcy. We also know that some students may remain in remote learning this year. So of course, we're going to continue to support them as well with some remote and virtual opportunities. And we also know that we need to increase the diversity among our volunteers. So for years, JA has been structured to ensure that we're serving students from all backgrounds. That's why it's so important for us to keep our programs free of cost to schools and families, because we really want to ensure that there's no financial barrier to prevent students from having access to role models like all of you. And we know that these critical lessons have the opportunity to change the trajectory of their lives. So just like many companies and organizations have done this past year, JA has taken a hard look at how we can do better with diversity and inclusion. We're setting goals for reaching economically disadvantaged students, as well as students from our rural communities. We've been working really hard to focus efforts on establishing new relationships with teachers, especially in the Denver 5 Points neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods, and in sections of Aurora with large populations of immigrants and economically disadvantaged communities. So in addition, we know that all of our volunteer role models have a profound impact on our students, and that volunteer component is so important. We see that in our surveys from educators and our data from students as well. But we also know there's a connection that heightens the experience even more for Hispanic students when the volunteers share a similar cultural background. So we did some digging this last year and discovered that there's a very large discrepancy between the number of students we serve who are Hispanic and the number of volunteers who are Hispanic. So you can see here over 30%, so about 35% of our students are Hispanic, about 8% of our volunteers are. So we know there's a lot of opportunity to get more Hispanic volunteers involved via our corporate partners and the community at large. This is going to be an ongoing effort for us. We've already started working on it by creating some new volunteer materials and establishing some new relationships. But we also look to you if you have any advice to help us on with these efforts. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, so as we're kind of wrapping up, we do have a question for all of you. So we know that teachers are going to be excited to have volunteers back into the classroom, but we also know that there are potential obstacles for volunteers getting back to that. So we are wondering what we can do as an organization and as a staff to ease the transition back to in-person volunteering, both for you and your colleagues. So I'm going to encourage you for this question to use the chat function. You can actually just click on chat and type in the response. Only JA staff will be able to see that because we really want to collect all of that information. And that will really help us as we're planning this fall for what to expect. If there's anything else related to this that you think would be important for us to know, like if the company you work for has said, in-person volunteering isn't allowed until January 1st, or if they have set policies that have already been determined, that would be really helpful for us as well. So please don't hesitate to open up the chat and provide some feedback for us on that. It's also a great time if you do have a question to put it into the Q&A so that Erin and I can start going through that and answer some of your questions before we wrap it up. So I'll give you a second to fill out any thoughts in the chat. If you have questions, again, go to the Q&A, please. All right, and as we're giving you a minute, we can start answering some questions. So Tom mentioned, have the did the Jane a Day program materials change for 7th through 12th grade? So in the past, we've only traditionally done Jane a Days at the elementary and middle school level. We expect middle school to be limited as far as Jane a Day. Usually at those higher grade levels, it's like Erin mentioned, 1 hour per week over a series of weeks. And some of the program materials have changed. There have been a lot of really exciting new releases of certain programs at those levels. So it's kind of different across the board. But over the past year, a lot of those programs have been updated, modified. We're actually really excited about it. So I can't kind of answer for all of them, but there are some programs that will look the same as in past years, a lot that have become more technology focused as well to help engage students. All right, Erin, when can we start choosing finance park dates for our teams to volunteer?
Okay, yeah, Steve, thanks for the question. I forgot to mention that when I was on that slide. We're working on the calendar. We actually have a pretty good draft, but we just need that confirmation from schools as they get back. So we're thinking early to mid-September is when we'll get that calendar out to all of our coordinators. So watch for that.
Great, thank you, Erin. Mark asks about wearing masks. Could volunteers get a JA imprinted face mask? Maybe we could pay for one or get a JA board member who has mask, ties, fund some. Love the idea, Mark, and I will bring that back to the team. That would be pretty cool. Love that. Okay, when can we register to volunteer for the stock market challenge? So that's a great question. So we'll need a little bit of time to figure out the capacity restrictions, if there are any, because we base the number of volunteers that we need based off of the students who will be at each of the sessions. Typically, we open the volunteer signups about a month ahead of time. So my best guess right now would be early October would be when we open up those signups to volunteers. Great question. Let's see, for Mark, immunization record requirements. Will JA collect the record prior to any school entry? Another good question, Mark. We don't currently have plans to do that. It's really just going to depend on district and school policy. So what we plan to do is look at what districts and schools are requiring and just follow their policies that they put in place. So we may have to look into that if they are requiring vaccination records, but we don't have that information quite yet. Okay, I think we got through the questions, and I see that there is a lot of feedback in the chat, so we appreciate that. We are definitely going to go through all of that so we can prepare ourselves for this fall. So thank you for your feedback. If you have anything else that you think of, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat, or if you have any questions in the last few minutes, we can come back to that. But before we go, most importantly, we want to say a big thank you to all of you for your continued support. The last year and a half has been challenging for all of us. It's been challenging for JA as an organization, but we know we couldn't have gotten to this point without all of you. And we are just so excited to see the enthusiasm for this school year and getting back to normal. I love hearing how excited our volunteers are to get back in front of students. And as staff, we are too. It's kind of killed us this past year that we don't actually get to walk into schools. That's what we're all here for, to really see that JA magic in the classroom. So thank you for your support. I know we will need lots of volunteers this year. So thank you. So if you're interested in volunteering, there are a few ways to do that. So when you signed up for this webinar, it would have asked, are you interested in learning about JA volunteer opportunities? So that adds you to an email list that we have. And once the school year starts and we have some opportunities available, we will start sending them out to that email list. We don't send emails more than once every other week, but that's a great way to keep in the loop about what's coming up for JA. And I would expect maybe early fall, we can start that up once we kind of have some certainty around some educator requests. In addition, there are a couple people on here that you can reach out to. So if you have a group who's interested in volunteering, you may already have a contact at JA to communicate with. If you do, please reach out to them. If not, you're always welcome to reach out to Erin. Her email is on this slide. And if you are an individual interested in volunteering, Stephanie Murphy is going to be the best contact for you. So her email address is on this slide as well. If you ever forget, if you have any of our email addresses, please just reach out to one of us and we will make sure to get you into the right place. All right, I think I saw one more question come in. Mark is asking about our second finance park. Robin, do you want to provide an update on that?
Yes, well, things are moving right along. We will be making an announcement here in the next month with some exciting news, and we would like to break ground sometime in, well, we won't get the building permit probably until November. We'd like to break ground in December, but we still have a few $1 million left to raise. So once we hit about, we need about 3 million more to break ground. And once we hit that, we'll be looking forward to having our second finance park hopefully opened in the 22-23 school year.
Thank you, Robin. All right, well, that is all we have for you this morning. Thank you again for taking the time to hear about this past school year with JA and what we expect for this year. So we hope to see you in the classroom or up at JA Finance Park or at JA Stock Market Challenge in the next few months. So have a great rest of your summer, everyone.